right, so let's talk a little bit about ammunition. So, try to go back and forth. I'm a one-man show here, so I'm operating the camera and holding some rounds here. So, I'll show you a few things here. So, come a little closer so you guys can see this. So, there's different types of ammunition. All right. So you get Slug, right? So that's a solid projectile. You know, everybody talks about Buckshot, which here's kind of a quick picture of Buckshot, right? So it's several pellets. I believe they're like 33 caliber. Some like this load here has 9, and it'll tell you 9 pellets of 00 buck. I'll try to get a camera. 9 pellets of 00 buck. Some are 8 pellets. And again, everything I'm talking about today is just based around 12 gauge. I know here's another thing to throw at you. There's 20 gauge. There's 10 gauge, there's 12, there's all these different gauges. I'm just going to talk about 12 gauge. You guys decide what you want in your gun for home defense. So again, you got solid slug. Now this is a full powered slug. They also make something they call tactical or reduced recoil slugs. So it's the same thing, and this one's, the shape of it's a little bit different, but there's less powder, there's less power in there. You can look at a separate video I have on shooting slugs, reduced recoil versus full power at bulletproof vests. What I've learned, and that video isn't a perfect video because since then I've shot a few more vests. Sometimes, and this came from a buddy of mine, hey, the reduced recoil, a bulletproof vest will stop it. So in the video that's on my YouTube channel, you'll see that's what happens. I did another video with a buddy of mine that it hasn't been posted, but we were shooting some vests and the reduced recoil rounds did make it through. Now those are old vests, so you know they've been bent up, sweat on, you know, who knows how old they are. Bulletproof vests do degrade over time, especially with a lot of use, different temperatures, sweat, again bending and whatnot. So you know, it can be debated on whether or not it'll stop it. I wouldn't want to get hit with one, less recoil or full power either way. And bad guys do wear body armor. So I've seen it a bunch of times, and here's another one for you. LA Bank shootout back in the day. Those guys had head-to-toe body armor. So bad guys with body armor are out there, so it's not far-fetched. It's, you know, I don't want to say completely rare, but it's not like you see it every day, even in bad neighborhoods, but it's out there. So something to think about when you're choosing loads. Some people like it because they don't like the recoil, so it's less recoil, especially for women or children or whatever. So that's why they like it. Law enforcement's pretty popular with, because, you know, the bunch of crybabies in law enforcement. I can say that after over 23 years in law enforcement. So I just prefer full-powered loads, but, you know, do your research and decide what's good for you in terms of slugs. But that's one solid projectile, and you can shoot that out to 100 yards, you know, probably 150 or so, you know, no problem. I know, do you need that in your house? You know, probably not, but, you know, we're talking COVID-19, you know, zombie apocalypse, right? So if you needed to shoot that far, or, hey, you need to take a deer to, you know, feed your family or something. So the deer's 100 yards away. You can take an accurate shot and get yourself some food for you and your family. All right. The next thing we'll talk about, well, something we already talked about, is the buckshot, right? And there's all different types of buckshot. Kind of law enforcement standard, military standard is 00 buck. Again, roughly 33 caliber pellets, 8 to 9 of them, 9 in this particular load. We'll talk about patterning in a second, but and different types of, well, I might as well just talk about it now. So these, depending on how far you are from the target, it will start to spread. You know, they say something about like 1 inch for every yard back from the target that you go. So your group, in theory, at the muzzle will be, you know, as round as the shell itself. Every yard you go back, it supposedly opens up 1 inch. Now, with the federal flight control wads, you can see this here. A wad is, you can see it in this picture. All these pellets are coming out of this plastic. That's the wad. The wad holds all the rounds in there together, and behind that is the powder. So when you pull the trigger, the firing pin, hammer hits the firing pin hits this round circle in the middle. That's the primer. There's a tiny explosion, if you will, and that ignites the powder. Powder goes off at a very rapid rate, pushes the wad forward with the rounds in it and down the barrel. With the flight control, it's designed to keep the pellets together longer. And there's also some polymer filler in there. Sometimes you'll see it when the rounds start to get beat up. You see it inside your gun. If like the mouth of the case opens up, you'll see little white things. You want to get rid of those rounds and put in some fresh rounds and clean out your gun because it can cause malfunctions. I've seen it in law enforcement guns. So get fresh rounds if you start seeing little white snow or danger, for whatever you want to call it. That's the polymer filler. That polymer filler is designed to keep the pellets from beating against each other and not flying perfectly because they're no longer perfectly round. So there's that. But the flight control wad, you tend to get a tighter group further out at distance, 15, 20, sometimes 25 yards. Each gun is a little bit different. Different chokes in the guns and whatnot. You got to test out, see. It's called patterning, but fire a shot at muzzle distance, fire it at 3 yards, 5 yards, go as far back as you can and kind of see how big the spread is. All right. So there's a quick thing about Buckshot, and that's a pretty popular round because it's shooting 8 or 9 pellets into a target at once. So think about the devastation. Up close, it's like a pre-fragmented slug or pre-fragmented solid projectile. And the further back you get, it's like shooting someone 8 or 9 times with every pull of the trigger with a .33 caliber gun. So there's that. Then there is Birdshot. So Bird, let's see if there's a picture on here, and there's not. But Bird has a whole bunch of little pellets. So basically the whole thing past the wad is filled with a whole bunch of little BBs, like tiny little BBs. And what that is designed to do, it's not really a defensive or tactical load, and I wouldn't advise it for home defense. I wouldn't want to get shot with it, don't get me wrong, and it could kill you, but it may not. And the further out you go, the further it spreads and the less power it's got. So some people think it's great for home defense because it won't overpenetrate. But the problem is it won't necessarily kill you either, and if the guy's still in the fight, there's still a chance of him killing you or your family member. But this is designed to take a bird. I mean, you can see the bird on the box here. Bird's flying, you throw a whole bunch of shot in the air, you get the bird, you take him down, and that's what it's designed to do. Shoot clays, shoot birds, train because they're cheaper and less recoil. Steel targets or whatever, it'll chew up paper targets, cardboard targets, but this is not for home defense. If it's all you can find right now because of the COVID situation, do what you got to do, but you should really understand it. You should really try to get to the range and see what it looks like through your gun. All right. Then we have dummy rounds. So dummy rounds are just, they got the standard base or whatever, and that's just plastic. And what that does is allow you to practice loading and unloading your gun and firing the gun and working the action and all of that. So that's a dummy round. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to fire 1 round of each, and then we'll take a look at the targets and see what they look like so you can understand the differences between Slug, Buckshot, and Birdshot. All right, so I am at, about 22 yards. I'm trying to look for the mark on the wall here. We're at about 25 yards, 22 yards, something like that. So I'm going to use a Slug from back here and show you guys what it looks like downrange. Right. So there's that. So quick example right there of if you saw me working the action, it didn't go back. So I fired the round, instinctually worked the action, and then I tried to clear, open the action to make the gun clear, and it locked. And that's because there's no round in the chamber. It locked, so to open it, hit the action release. All right, let's go downrange, take a look. All right, so a little high, a little to the right. So you're going to see I only fired 1 round, but there's 2 holes in the target. So this right here is the slug itself. pretty perfectly round hole for the most part. A little bit of a grease mark there. And then you see this oblong hole in here. Let's see if, I don't know if it's in here, but here's something similar. So this is the wad. This is what's behind your Slug or your Birdshot, Buckshot. Again, the flight control wad we talked about looks a little bit different. So, you know, something, you know, this is your Slug, and then this also goes downrange as well. So this target got hit with the Slug and with the wad as well. All right, guys, next up is Buckshot. Again, this is Federal 12 gauge, 2 3/4 inch, 9 pellet 00 buck with Federal's flight control wad through a Mossberg 590 A1 short barrel shotgun. It's 14.5 inches. It's also got the Vang Comp treatment. That's a whole other thing. I could probably do a whole video on that. Go to Vang Comp Systems, VANGCOMP, and you can learn about the treatments they do. Helps reduce recoil. Also increase the accuracy of your buckshot. So if you don't have Federal flight control wads, it can help tighten up your stuff. That's a whole other stuff, and they're great people. Met my buddy Hans Vang a few years back. He's a great guy and quite a character if you ever get to meet him. So Federal flight control 00 buck, 9 pellet through the Vang Comp 14.5 inch gun. Going hot. All right. So again, work the action, and now it doesn't. I have to either pull the trigger again or work the action bar. Again, I'm done shooting, so I'm going to hit the action release, work the action, check that it's clear and safe. Otherwise, you have to pull the trigger. Not a good habit to get into when you're not actually firing the gun. All right, so again, we're at about, I don't know, 7-8 yards. Let's go take a look at the target. All right, so that is 9 pellets of 00 bucks, and I put my thumb in here as a reference point. So it's pretty tight, you know, 7-8 yard group. All right, so now we'll put it through my Remington 870. All right, so Federal flight control wad, Remington 870, just a standard barrel, no Vang Comp treatment to it, and it's 18.5 inch barrel. And again, that same, whatever we are, 7-8 yards. All right, going hot. Check it out. All right, so you can see it's right on top of the other group. It's really maybe slightly bigger. It's kind of hard to tell, even if I marked it. Similar group. Also 4 inches more barrel there. And if you look kind of close, you might see a little bit of the filler. Looks like it pelted the cardboard. Remember that? Yeah, actually, you can see it right here. This little polymer filler to keep the BBs from beating against each other and fly better. All right. Next up, Birdshot. All right, 7.5 inch Federal Birdshot. Again, 14.5 inch Vang Comp short barrel shotgun. Going hot. Check it out, check it out. So, try to zoom out here. And zoom in and zoom out. So if you see, and you can see the spread here is pretty far. Even with the Vang Comp treated barrel, you know, 7-8 yards. You got pellets from here all the way up to here, so that's probably a good foot. And then as far left as we'll say here, and goes all the way over here, so probably another foot. So a 12 by 12 pattern, but how deep would they go? Maybe I'll pull off, when we're done shooting, I'll pull off the back. We'll take a look at the back of the cardboard. All right, but wouldn't want to get shot with it, but I wouldn't use it for home defense, especially you end up with a bad guy wearing body armor. That's not going to stop him. All right, so next up is Birdshot through the 18.5 inch Remington. All right, so now we got 7.5 inch Birdshot. That's again 7-8 yards with the Remington 870. Going hot. All right, so again, a little similar. It's hard to tell, you know, I didn't mark where one group ended and the other one started, or maybe I could have used a clean piece of cardboard for you, but I think you get the picture. It spreads pretty far, so this is like from the head now all the way down here, and doesn't seem like anything went further left than before, and maybe a pellet or two a little further to the right. So it looks like, oh my God, you shot it a whole bunch of times, but really, how deadly would that be? Let's go and see the backside. So yep, seems like all the pellets went through. None are stuck in the cardboard. And this thing's already been shot out. This isn't from today. I'll try to show you around back. Yeah, I think it stopped all of those pellets. I don't see a whole bunch of little holes. So there's Birdshot. All right, so just want to talk about the wads real quick. So we got a few different types of wads that'll hold Birdshot and Buckshot and whatever. And even the Slugs. This is one that holds the slug inside. There's two pieces of it, and it goes through the barrel, but then it comes out. It falls away. And then this is the flight control wad, and you can see where it's got little fins that open up and slow everything down little by little. Basically, it keeps the payload, the shot, together longer downrange to make it tighter, more accurate at distance. And these little fins open up here and then in the back as the thing goes downrange. So eventually this will fall away, and then the shot will continue together, and over time it'll open up, but helps keep it more accurate. But you can see again from the cardboard that wads themselves are also, you know, that you could be hit with that as well. So that's pretty much it on the ammo. And there's all sorts of things we could say about the ammo and everything. But this is just kind of a quick, brief overview. And we could talk about different types of loads and different, you know, 12 gauge, 20 gauge, 10 gauge, you know, 410, all these different things. This is just a quick, hey, you got your gun. They didn't have time in the gun store to kind of go over it with you. Just some information for you. So let's recap. We talked about different types of guns. We talked about safety, different types of shotguns. We talked about different types of loads. You know, Buckshot, Birdshot, Slug, reduced recoil Slug. The only other thing I will add, and I was going to do this hot, but I'll just do it dry to simulate. I don't even need to shoot it hot for you. Is you'll see people tend, when they're shooting, they'll come out and they'll fire a shot. Again, this is clear and safe, so yes, I don't have my ears on. They'll fire a shot, and then they'll go, you know, boom, it'll recoil, and then they'll work the action. It should be, and you saw me do this, I think, when I was firing the rounds, even though I wasn't really trying to work the action quick or anything. It's when you fire the gun, you should be racking that slide right away. I mean, it's literally pull the trigger, getting ready to shoot again if you need to, not pull the trigger, recoil, okay, because you're using this to save your life or your family members' lives or whatever. So you need to be getting this or keeping this gun in action, right? So you need to keep it fed. And there's so much more we can talk about with the shotgun, but this is just meant for a series of quick introductory videos, and this is basically because of the COVID thing with all the new gun owners and a lot of anti-gunners, people that were on the fence before, and we're just trying to put out some quick information for them. Sorry, we're on the range here; it's kind of loud now. So that's it, guys. Just a quick thing. Here we are in April 2020, May 29 and 30, 2020. At the Hartford Gun Club in East Granby, Connecticut. I have a 2-day shotgun class, or 2-day tactical, 2-day defensive, whatever you want to call it, where we're going to get into everything. nomenclature, setup, selection, patterning your buckshot, because those were some nice groups with the buckshot there, with the flight control and with the Vangt comp barrel on the one gun. But we do it where we go all the way out to 25 yards, so you can really see. Some guns don't perform that well, with or without flight control wad. And even with the Vangt comps, some guns don't like the flight control wads, and maybe better without it. It's weird. You got to try your gun with your defensive or duty ammo and see how it patterns at distance. But we do all of that, shooting on the move, keeping the gun fed, select slug drills. I mean, I can go on and on and on. So stretztactical.com, STRETZ tactical.com, all one word. Also make sure you follow me on Instagram, Facebook. Click like, comment, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff. I appreciate it. All right, guys, till then, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you on the range.